So today I'll be reviewing Pokemon Journeys episode 64, The Hated Absol. So nothing really important happened in this episode aside from seeing Hodge again for the first time since episode 7, and Absol being caught. This episode was completely predictable early on, and while I was watching this episode, all I could do was think back to the original Absol episode back in the hoenn days that did a much better job telling the story of Absol. I really wish they made a reference to that episode or the fact that Ash has been to Lavaridge Town before and battled Flannery, but I'll talk more about that in the end of the review. So to summarize the episode, Ash and Goh received a call from Hodge for a research request to figure out why the water stopped at his uncle's hot spring, and we learn that the people of the town suspect Absol because of some old superstition and because it was nearby lately. So Ash and Goh decide that they'll find out the real cause, and when they arrive at Lavaridge Town they meet with Hodge, and we learn that no one is coming to the town because the hot spring is closed because everyone is fearing Absol. So Hodge ends up taking them to an old tablet that talks about Absol's lore, and we learn how since ancient times whenever Absol shows up, disaster follows, and how the hot springs must have dried up because of Absol. So then we end up meeting Hodge's uncle, who blames Absol and decides that he wants to go after it, and after arguing with Goh for a bit, Goh says he'll go investigate and find out the reason why, so he and Ash are given 2 hours to figure that out, and after learning that the hot spring's been stopped for about half a month, Ash and Goh decide to investigate Mount Chimney, where they discover Glalie, who they then decide to follow. So after they discover Glalie with all his friends, Goh says catching them will obviously fix the problem. But then Absol shows up to stop Goh and then leaves, and Goh says that he wants to trust Absol, and then Ash points out that Absol had a look in his eyes and says that maybe it's trying to tell us something. And after this point the episode becomes pretty predictable. Goh calls Hodge to tell him what's going on and asks him to check out the stone tablet, and he learns that an entire section of the tablet just happens to be covered by dirt. Funny enough, no one ever noticed. And then we learn that Absol was trying to warn them about an eruption like the one that happened 300 years ago, so they go to stop the eruption, and Goh brings out Cinderace again, but that doesn't work. So Absol comes to help, but it's still not enough, so Absol headbutts its head towards the rock. Steam explodes out of the mountain, and before Absol can be burned by the steam, Goh catches it in a steaming Pokeball. After they confirm that there's no eruption, Absol decides to come with Goh. Then they all enjoy the hot springs. Hodge says he'll take Glalie somewhere cold, which I think is definitely a reference to Azabi Island where Ash caught Snorunt, and fun fact, that episode came out right after the Absol episode. So history aside, the episode ends with Hodge's uncle pouring water on himself next to Glalie as punishment for not trusting Absol, Ash, and Goh. And the episode ends with all of them enjoying the hot spring. So this episode was pretty average to me. I wasn't expecting much, and I really wasn't expecting Ash to catch Absol like other people were. But I still think this episode could have been better. I thought it was weird how Hodge didn't go to help them with the problem with his town, and how the most important part of the tablet just happened to be covered with dirt, and how they forced that hero capture of Absol at the end with Goh like they did with Suicune, although this was better done in my opinion. But the biggest problem I had in this episode was that Flannery wasn't even mentioned and that she wasn't here, even though this is her town since she's the gym leader of this town. Like, why would Hodge go to Ash and Goh before the gym leader of the town unless she's gone? And if she is, they could have at least mentioned that. But even ignoring that, this was a pretty average episode, especially when you compare it to the last Absol episode, which I would say was better done. But it was nice to see the return of Hodge in this episode. Hopefully we see them bring back Rinto and other characters that we've already seen in the series in future episodes. I really can't wait for the next episode with that return. But all that aside, let me know what you thought of this episode in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and bye.